Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucy and in today's video I'll be telling you guys how to romanticize your reading so that you can fall back in love with reading again. So this is a bit of a different video for me, but I really wanted to do something that was a little bit more lifestyle focused whilst also being about books. And there are so many videos out there by incredible creators about how to romanticize your life. I love that. I love the idea of making something more dreamy, more beautiful, more exciting, and you know, just romanticizing your everyday life. I think there's something so great in that, which gave me the idea of how to romanticize your reading. And if you find often that you get bored of reading and the routine that you've got yourself in, I'm really hoping that this video will just give you the jumpstart you need in order to romanticize the act of reading and also make sure that your reading becomes so much more productive, you get a lot more books read, a lot more pages read, and you actually enjoy the act of taking time to read. So this might be a bit of a long video. Grab yourself a beverage. I've got an iced coffee and living my best like spring summer life. Like I'm feeling all types of cozy cottagecore vibes from this video already. So do hit that subscribe button if you like what you see and you want more videos like this. Okay, so let's go on to my first tip. So in order to romanticize reading, I think the first thing you need to do is to set the scene. I think the thing is, reading should be experiential. Don't get me wrong, there is a time and place for reading. Say you're on the train getting to work or school, you're on the bus. How do you make that experiential? Like, that's going to be hard to. But when you're able to, taking a pocket of time out of your day, your evening, your weekend, and turning it into more of an experience can really help you fall back in love with reading. And what I do to set the scene when I'm reading is simple things. I light candles. I get blankets. I make it the most cozy experience I can possibly make it. Even if it's 15 minutes. Say you are super busy right now, you are stretched, and the idea of picking up a book seems painful to you. Like, you know, you can't, you just want to rest your mind. Well, why not take 15 minutes, half an hour for yourself? Close all the doors, get away from people, put your coziest pajamas on, get a blanket. And another one of my favorite tips is to kind of create a menu, like create your favorite snacks, create your favorite drinks. In the spring and summer, if I'm doing this during a weekend, I like to make a really bougie iced coffee. I'll get little snacks and make it just a really fun, lovely experience and something that you're really putting thought and care into. I think that heightens the experience completely. I look forward to those days where I'm like, you know what? It's reading hour, where I'm just gonna get the blanket on, I'm gonna make it as cozy as possible, and I've got my snacks, I've got my drink, I've got my water to stay hydrated, and I've got my book. And those are the best days. My second tip in order to romanticize reading and to make you fall in love with it again, the book you are reading matters. Now, I think I speak for all of us when I say that BookTok, BookTube, we are surrounded by hyped books. We are surrounded by books we feel pressured to read. We feel behind on what's popular right now. As a booktuber, I feel like that all the time. I'm constantly behind on what's trending, what's cool, what everyone's reading, and I put pressure on myself to catch up and, you know, read those books that maybe I wouldn't have necessarily read in the first place. In order to fall back in love with reading and to romanticize reading as an activity, you need to fall in love with the book that you're reading, or at least have some excitement to the book you're reading. So my top tip, you're in a slump, you're not having a great time, you're, you know, finding it difficult to pick a book up. Pick that one book up that you have wanted to read for ages. Maybe you've been putting it off. Maybe it's really long. Maybe it's a huge book. Speaking from experience, I don't like books that are like 500 pages long. You know, pick a book that means something to you. So this could even be a reread. This could be your favorite book that in the back of your head, you're like, rereading books is a waste of time. It's not productive. If it's gonna get you back into reading, if it's gonna help you romanticize it, it is worth doing. So I think pick a book that you have an emotional connection to, whether that's a sequel that you're really looking forward to, or maybe it's a genre. So genres for me, where I'm in a bit of a rut and I need my fail-safe genres. These are fantasy and romance, often fantasy romance, which is perfect. I think to really romanticize reading, it's really nice to also pick books that fit the season. So I really like to read seasonally. In spring, summer, I really love to read romance, a lot of romance. You know, whether that's escapist, whether that's fantasy, whether that is whimsical or cozy fantasy, which is obviously an emerging genre right now. Or if it's in the winter, you want to read something dark, spooky, atmospheric, read seasonally. It will help you get into that mindset. It'll help you romanticize and kind of connect to the seasons itself. And I think there's something really special in reading seasonally. It definitely helps me look forward and kind of like embrace the season that you're currently in, rather than kind of wishing or longing for time to pass, you know? So I think there's something in the book that you're reading, it really does matter. My third way that I romanticize reading is through soundscapes and playlists. I'm a very audiovisual person. I need music at all times, and I do find having soundscapes or ambient YouTube videos really helps me. So some of my favorite YouTube channels that do excellent soundscapes or ambient videos are Ambient Worlds, Autumn Cozy, Olivia Lee, and Somnier Sounds. Now these channels all create brilliant, soothing, atmospheric soundscapes where they provide the best background for your reading or whatever cozy hobby you're doing. But for reading especially, I really like to pick a soundscape that matches the book that I'm reading. And all of these channels, you can literally search for the right vibes that you want. But for example, if I am reading an epic fantasy, maybe I want like Lord of the Rings ambience. Maybe I want a high fantasy vibe, you know? And they have everything you can possibly imagine. So I really would recommend checking out soundscapes. They help you get into the book you're reading and feel it. They help you like live it in your head. I'd also add this as a key component to my first tip, which is creating a pocket of time, really kind of making it a moment, an experience with your blanket, your candles, your food, your drinks. Add a soundscape because it just creates this perfect atmosphere. And another kind of area like this is Spotify playlists. So what I've really started doing is when I'm reading a book, I'll just search in Spotify or whatever music provider you are on, the book title. And often some other user has created the most perfect playlist for your book that you're reading. I do this quite a lot and I find it's really, really lovely. And you know, I just like going through the different playlists people have created. It's really fun. But also often authors create their own playlists for their books. So do check that out as well. But I really love listening to music when I'm reading, so I do like checking out playlists for those books. My fourth way that I romanticize reading is all about location. So there are many ways that you can make the location a form of romanticizing your reading. My favorite way is to channel that main character energy and get outside. Especially in spring, summer, getting outside, going to the park, bringing a picnic blanket, reading your book outside. There's something so special about that. Even if you're bringing your book to a cafe, you can easily romanticize your life reading your book in a cafe with your favorite coffee or tea, your favorite pastry, you know, hearing the hubbub of the cafe around you whilst you're reading. There is something very romantic about that. And it's a perfect way to romanticize what you're doing. I also find you get a lot of pages read when you're kind of outside and you're intentionally spending time reading. Also, I do find that change of scenery sometimes can help you when you're stuck in a bit of a reading slump. Bring your book outside with you and go and make a date with yourself. Take yourself to the park, take yourself, you know, to dinner, whatever it is. Take your book with you and make it a little date with you and your book. If at home, I touched upon this in the first point, make yourself a reading nook. So this is something I really like to do when I'm run down or I'm feeling overwhelmed by life and the world. Introverts, where you at? Basically, I like to create a little reading nook which features all my favorite things nearby, and maybe I've made a little cozy spot on the floor. Maybe I've put kind of like a fake fireplace on the TV or a soundscape, you know, bundled in blankets, the candles are on. You've got all your favorite things around you. So you've got your book, you've got maybe your Nintendo Switch if you play games, you've got, you know, your laptop for those social media breaks, whatever you need. I like to create a little cozy nook where it's just me and the world can't touch me, you know? This is where you can bring in your snacks. This is where you can light your candle. It's just a safe space for you. And I think there's something really romantic about like finding a spot in your home that you can make a safe space within. And I think like intentionally spending time in your space and setting a space aside just to read, that's something really lovely as well. Another location point for me is reading in the bath. Now, a lot of you guys who have been watching my channel for a while, you know that whenever I'm filming a reading vlog or a cozy weekend in my life, I feature the bath. Like, as in, I'm always reading in the bath, and I get so many pages read in the bath because I make it the most heavenly experience. And I feel like I've got my routine nailed for this. So basically, I light candles. I make sure I use like my bougie bath stuff. I'll pour myself a glass of wine, or maybe I'll make myself a gin and tonic. I'll put on an excellent soundtrack, and then I'll spend an hour pruning in the bath, reading my book, completely forgetting the world. And then when I get out of the bath, I use my favorite kind of moisturizer, whatever I need, and I put on a fresh pair of PJs, and I just feel like a new person. And I feel like because I've romanticized all that, I've gotten a load of pages read, I'm so invested in my book that I'm even more excited to read more of it once I'm done. And it's just like the best experience, guys. Like, romanticize your bath time or shower time. It is perfect. And then my final tip for you today will be to set yourself a reading challenge. So if you're really struggling to get back into reading and you're looking for extra ways to romanticize reading, set yourself a challenge, like compete against yourself. This could look like a 24-hour readathon. It could be reading X amount of pages in a day or a weekend. It could be only reading a certain genre, or swapping your phone screen time for reading time. Whatever it is, I think make reading fun. Make it like dreamy and romantic. Like, set yourself a challenge. That really does help your brain just be in like competition mode with itself, and it's like, okay, this is serious, like you need to read. And if you're one of those people who often forsakes reading for socializing or social media or watching Netflix, setting a challenge makes it a lot more fun, and I think can often like shift your brain in a way that's like putting the fun back into reading, you know? And if you're a creator, so if you have a BookTok account, Instagram, booktube, whatever it is, film this. I can't tell you, if I wasn't a booktuber, I don't think I'd get half as much reading done. The act of filming my reading, like doing reading vlogs, makes me read because it romanticizes the act of reading. It's almost like I know people are gonna be watching this, so I better make it worth them watching. I better actually read the book. So I think if you are a creator, film it, romanticize it. Film really creative shots of you reading or taking part in these challenges. That's also a way to romanticize it. It's really fun. If you're not a creator, you can always mark down your challenge or your reading progress in a journal. I really love Sana from Books and Quills' book club journal. So it has amazing pages where you can mark down your progress, say what you thought of the book, you know, fill in a journal like this where you're documenting your progress, you're holding yourself accountable, and you're romanticizing it. You're like making note of it. You know, there's something really great about that too, and will help you be a lot more productive and hopefully fall back in love with reading. So guys, those are my tips on how to romanticize reading and fall back in love with reading in general. I'm really sorry if I've been croaky in this video. I have a really bad cold. So what I'm gonna be doing straight after this video is cozying on up. I've got my little reading nook on the couch over here, and I'm gonna be starting a new book, and I cannot wait. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and that you found my tips useful. Do let me know down in the comments how you romanticize your reading. I would love to hear from you, and don't forget to subscribe if you liked what you saw today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye.